Hi, this is Lisa Somerville for Divinity Designs. Today I'm here to share with you the release for August 2022. This month we're releasing 1 stamp set, 4 custom dies, and 2 foiling plates. First I'm going to share with you the products that we're releasing this month, then I'll share with you some tips, and finally some samples created by the design team. The stamp set, Fresh Fruit, this is a set of 13. The custom dies, Rolled Rose Flower, this is a set of 2. You have the decorative rose and the layering panel. Shown here, you can see them layered together. This die set coordinates with our Rolled Roses background. That's the die you see here. The Rolled Roses background die measures 5 by 3 3/4. Depending on the calibration of your machine and the wear and tear on your acrylic plates, you may find it necessary to use a metal shim when die cutting the Rolled Roses background die. To easily remove the cardstock from the die, you can use our die cutting tool. The Rolled Roses background die can be used with both the A2 Portrait and A2 Landscape card base with layered die sets. The next 2 die sets are the Mini Slimline Pierced Frame. This die set coordinates with our Mini Slimline card base. The Mini Slimline Pierced Frame measures 3.5 by 6 and covers the full size of your Mini Slimline card. The Mini Slimline Petals background also coordinates with the Mini Slimline card base. This die measures 3.25 by 5 3/4. When you die cut this die, all the pieces from the pattern will also die cut, leaving you the beautiful die cut piece that you see here. The next 2 products that I have to share with you are foiling plates. To use our foiling products, you need a hot foil machine and a die cutting machine. The hot foiling machine heats the foil. The die cutting machine presses the foil into the cardstock. The hot foiling plates that we're releasing this month are our Vintage Labels foiling plates. This is a set of 3. It coordinates with our Vintage Labels dies. And here you can see that I hot foiled the Vintage Labels foiling plates in teal foil on white cardstock. The other foiling plate being released this month is the Damask foiling plates. And here you can see some of the various foiling that I've done using the Damask foiling plate on white and colored cardstock in different colors of foil. Now I'll share with you some tips for using the products in this month's release. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the Rolled Roses background die measures 5 by 3 3/4 and can be used with both the A2 Portrait and A2 Landscape card base with layered die sets. Here I have the A2 Portrait card base with layered die set, die cut and embossed from white cardstock. Here you can see the Rolled Roses background on top of that layering panel. Now we're going to bring in 2 additional die sets to show you some different looks using this die set. Here I have one of our pierced rectangles die cut and embossed from a piece of pattern paper. You can see that layers nicely under the Rolled Roses background, and here you can see it on the layering panel and then the A2 card base. Now for a pop of color between that layer panel and the card base, we have our matting rectangle die that was die cut and embossed from the teal cardstock. And you can see how that adds just a pop of color between the layer panel and the card base. Again, when using our Rolled Roses background die, depending on the calibration of your machine, the wear and tear of your acrylic plates, you might find it necessary to use a metal shim or die cut multiple times in order to get a nice clean cut. Again, after die cutting, you can use our die cutting tool to easily remove the cardstock from the die. To embellish our card, you can use the coordinating Rolled Rose Flower die set. Again, this die set is a set of 2. You have the decorative rose and the layering panel. Here you can see the layering panel and the decorative panel. On my decorative panel, I did also hot foil this. In addition to using hot foil with hot foiling plates, you can also hot foil your die cuts. If you're looking to add some decorative leaves to the Rolled Rose Flower, you can use our Rose Leaves die set. This is a set of 3. When using the Rose Leaves dies, be sure to die cut and emboss following the directions for your die cutting machine. Embossing will bring out the detail of the dies. Anytime you see 2 shades of purple on the packaging or the web images, that does indicate you should emboss your dies for best results. To adhere the decorative rose to the layering panel, you can use Bearly Art Craft glue. And for a different look using our rolled roses background, you can use some of our frame dies. You can add the A2 thin pierced frame over the rolled roses background, or you can add the largest die from the pierced frames die set over the rolled roses background die. Both of the following dies coordinate with our mini slimline die collection, our mini slimline petals background and mini slimline pierced frame. You can use these dies separately or you can use them together. Shown here is the mini slimline petals background. Again, this die measures 3 1/4 by 5 3/4. Shown here on the mini slimline rectangles and the mini slimline card base. Shown here, the mini slimline petals background, the mini slimline rectangles, mini slimline scalloped rectangles, and the mini slimline card base. When using this die, after die cutting, you can emboss the die to further define the piercing on this die cut. Now, instead of just layering a die cut and embossed panel behind this decorative die, you can also inlay the die cut pieces back into the die. Here you can see I die cut and embossed and then inlaid all the die cut pieces back into the panel. This gives a more raised look to those die cut pieces that fall from the decorative area of the die cut. On this panel, you can see that I die cut a rectangle panel to layer behind using a piece of pattern paper, and then I inlaid the white pieces back into the die cut area. And on this mini slimline petals background, I also added the mini slimline pierced frame. The slimline pierced frame measures 3 1/2 by 6 and completely covers our mini slimline card base. Our frame dies are perfect for creating shaker cards. And now I have some tips to share with you for using our foiling plates. Again, the Vintage Labels foiling plates coordinate with our Vintage Labels die set. The Vintage Labels foiling plates are a set of 3, while the Vintage Labels die set is a set of 4. Again, when using our foiling plates, you'll need a hot foiling machine that coordinates with your die cutting machine. The hot foiling machine heats the foil. The die cutting machine presses the foil into the cardstock. You'll always place the pretty side of the foil face down on top of the hot foiling plates. Then follow the directions for your foiling machine to use along with your coordinating die cutting machine. I'll link in a video below that shares tips for using our hot foiling products. So here you can see I've already hot foiled a piece of cardstock using the Vintage Labels foiling plates. So after foiling, you can remove that foil from the cardstock. Don't discard your negative area of the foiling because you can use that along with our solid foiling plates. The solid foiling plate allows you to use the negative area of the foiling so you don't have any waste when using foiling. Again, more details on using a solid foiling plate along with our foiling dies will be linked in the video below. Now to use the Vintage Labels die set to die cut the foiling from the Vintage Labels foiling plate, you'll simply center that die over the foiled cardstock. Use removable tape to hold that die in place, then die cut and emboss following the directions for your die cutting machine. That will leave you the beautiful foiled vintage labels that you see here that you can use as die cut elements on your cardstock or scrapbook pages. Now shown here, I've added in a die cut and embossed panel using our double pierced vintage labels. You can see that just a slight edge of that foiling shows underneath the double pierced vintage labels. Again, don't toss away the negative area from your foiling. You can use that along with the solid foiling plates. Here's the negative foiling, and here's the positive foiling. Just like with the positive foiling, you'll place the coordinating die set over the foiled area. Use removable tape to hold that die in place, then die cut and emboss following the directions for your die cutting machine. And lastly, we have the damask foiling plate. Again, you'll need a hot foil machine and a coordinating die cutting machine. Just like with our other foiling products, don't toss away the negative area of your foiling. You can use that along with our solid foiling plate. Here you can see some of the positive foiling done with the damask foiling plate and various colors of foil. Here's a tone on tone, teal on teal cardstock. and then some additional colors. Here we have black foil, rose gold foil, rainbow foil, silver foil, and pink foil. Again, when using our foiling products, the pretty side of the foil will always touch your foiling plate. And here's some examples using the negative area of your foiling plate from the damask foiling plate along with our solid foiling plate. Here you can see the rainbow foil in the negative area of the foiling. And on the left, you see the positive foiling. The negative area using the pink foiling in both of these foiling plates. Again, here's the positive foiling. The negative and positive using the silver foil in both of these foiling plates. Here's another example of negative and positive foiling. And yet another example using the green foil in both of these foiling plates. So again, here's the negative area of the foil, which you can place pretty side down on top of the solid foiling plate. Then add your cardstock and follow the directions for your hot foil machine, and then you'll run it through the coordinating die cutting machine. Again, more details for using our foiling products can be found in the video linked below. And just a tip, if you're having problems getting solid foiling when using hot foiling plates, you can swipe an anti-static bag over your cardstock prior to placing this on top of the foil and your hot foiling plate. Before I share with you the design team cards, I'd like to share with you a closer look at a few of the cards that I've created using this month's release along with additional Divinity Designs products. Now I'll be sharing with you some inspiration from our design team using the products found in the August 2022 release along with additional Divinity Designs products. For more inspiration using these and other additional Divinity Designs products, visit the product pages on our website, like us on Facebook, or follow us on Pinterest and Instagram.